Hey everyone, I wanted to share a video today about some curriculum that I've been looking at for next year that I couldn't find a lot of information about online. So for your own research and education purposes, I wanted to share a little bit about this in case it's something that you're interested in. It's really hard to buy curriculum when you can't really see inside it. So the curriculum that I'm going to share today is an add-on to Torchlight Level 5 called The Art of Rock and Roll. You can bundle this when you buy Torchlight Level 5, or you can buy it separately. I think separately it's $20. And then there's another add-on, which is, it might be The Art of Personal Finance or something like that. But Torchlight Level 5 uses them, adds them in kind of in their curriculum. So if you're getting Torchlight Level 5, this might be something you want to consider. Or it, I think, could be used outside of Torchlight as well. So this is The Art of Rock and Roll, Volume 1, the beginnings through 1980. It's a 19-week music lab for exploring rock music history through reading, listening, and activities. Now, they do say in here that they recommend this for ages 10 and up, mostly because they say it requires a bit of focus and analysis skills to benefit from the material fully, and explores themes of oppression that might be better suited for older learners. The other thing that I want to share in here is they list several reference books, and I saw one video where they said you didn't need them. So I borrowed them all from my library, and I'm just going to show you a little bit about what each of the books, what's in each of the books, what they look like, so that you kind of have an idea going in if that's something that you would want or not. So there are some teaching notes of how to implement it, but I'm just going to show you lesson 1 so you can see how it's laid out, and then a couple examples of some of the projects that they include. So they do mention a lot of individual artists, but they do say somewhere in here that they try to focus on, it says, we chose not to dive too deeply into artists themselves. Instead, we focus on their impact on musical history, and biographies can easily be found on most artists featured. And they do kind of note for parents that a lot of these artists maybe had some, a lot of tumultuous, like, personal stories, and so that may be something you need to decide kind of at the parent level if that's something you want your kids to dive into. So anyway, as an example, lesson 1, this is blues, jazz, and swing, and call and response. And so it just gives you a little bit of background information, and then they give you this little call and response activity. You can look up these songs, or you can just use the lyrics that are printed here. And then they have a try this section. So this particular one is to get a general idea of how a vocal and instrumental call and response combination might work with improvisation. You're going to sing the following questions, and then your students are going to answer only with humming or instrument sounds. So it sounds like a lot of fun. And then we go into swing a little bit. There's listen and learn. Listen to 3 pieces of music, one firmly in each genre, and talk about the similarities you hear from one genre to the next. So we're doing jazz, blues, and swing. See if you can hear how the genres influence each other, and listen for some of the things they talked about: call and response patterns, improvisation, things like that. And then there's another try this about dances that kind of were created around the swing genre. And then there's an additional playlist here of songs. And then every lesson has a page with extensions. So there's videos here, and then there's books. And here's where you'll see some of these other books listed, plus some additional ones that aren't part of like their core 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, their core 6. And then they also have some recommendations for younger learners if you had some maybe younger tag-along students. And so that's pretty much how each lesson is laid out. Some of the try this are more involved than others. Here you're creating an album cover similar to the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band from the Beatles, or in this one, what were we doing in this one? Here you're picking out the similarities and differences between some of the hard rock and heavy metal songs that they list, and you're kind of contrasting those musical genres and whatnot. So the activities all seem very doable to me. They don't require a whole lot of special supplies or anything. It does say that sometimes an activity will build on an activity you did in a previous lesson. And I think that's about it. There are some typos throughout this. I did notice that when I was reading through it, but for the most part, that's the only negative that I noticed as of right now. I think this is something you could easily adapt and add into. We're going to add some things into it, that musical things that are important to our family. But I think that this can be a lot of fun. We're planning to use this next year. But let me show you some of the books that they recommend so that you have an idea if these would be important for you to have or not. This one is by Wide Eyed Books. It's called Music Legends 40 Inspiring Icons. And I think this is the one, let's see, that doesn't have, yeah, this one doesn't have an index, so I don't love that, but that's that one. We have The History of Rock for Big Fans and Little Punks. This one does have an index so that you can see everything that's included. This one just has little chunks of information. It's like, for me, I don't know that I would buy this one. I'm not sure. I haven't made a final. I know there's one I definitely want. This one we actually did buy. This is my copy. This is a book club reader, which I think goes along with Torchlight as well, because they do the book club readers, but this is a graphic novel. Then we have another one from Wide Eyed Books called Music is My Life. Let's see, this one does have a table of contents. And this looks like just one page per artist. Looks like a nice one. And then we have DK Music and How It Works, the complete guide for kids. There's the contents on that one. And again, this one has a lot more little chunks of music, but it's got a lot in it. I'm a sucker for a good DK book. And then this one is probably the one I like the most. It is Legends, Icons, and Rebels, Music That Changed the World. Has a content section. And then there's like a 2-page spread introducing the artist and then 2 pages of information. I just really like the illustrations in this one. So it will show you at the end of a lesson, let's see, under the extensions here, this is, oh, they named this guy. Let me see what his name is. Hobby Stardust, our resident bunny to lead you down the educational rabbit hole. And so here is where some of these are these books that I showed you, and they'll list some page numbers that you could read more about things that were mentioned in the lesson. So at any rate, hopefully that's helpful to you. And if you have any questions, let me know down below.